Hello, welcome to homework number 6, arc and angle measures. So the first thing that you should realize about this is your formula chart is really going to come in handy. I've drawn the pictures on here, but if we look right here, we are going to be looking at these 3 different formulas today. Like I said, I have it on my other paper, but if you have this formula chart printed out, remember it's at the very first assignment in whatever module circle started in. There's circle information in the very first module with circle information, and these are going to be the important ones for today. So the first one we're looking at is if we have 2 secants. Remember, a secant goes through the circle and intersects the circle in 2 places. So we have 2 secants that intersect inside a circle. When they intersect inside a circle, the way to determine the angle measure, if we're given some of the arcs, is the measure of angle 1. And don't forget that you have vertical angles. So if this is angle 1, this is also the same measure. So to find the measure of each of those, all you do is you take 1/2 the sum of arc AD and arc BC. So 1/2, if you add the 2 intercepted arcs with that angle measure, find the sum, take 1/2 of it, you will get the angle measure. So angle 2 is the same, 1/2 the sum of the intercepted arcs. Now, if you are trying to find something on, like if you were given these arcs and you need to find the measure of angle 2, the first thing you need to do is find the measure of angle 1. You know that angles 1 and 2 are supplementary. So you can use your other knowledge as well. And so let's look here at example 1. We are trying to find the measure of arc QT. Remember, when it's named with 2 letters, that's going to be the shortest distance between Q and T, which will be less than 180. I'm just going to call that X to make things easy. This is an interior angle. So if I look though, what I was just talking about, these 2 arcs are intercepted arcs for these angles here, not for that angle. So the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out the measure of these 2 angles. Well, we have supplementary angles, so 180 minus 79 is going to be 101 degrees. So then we just plug things into the formula. 101 degrees is going to equal 1/2 the sum of these 2, 95 plus X. Then we use our algebra. First thing I like to do is clear my fractions, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So I will have 202 is equal to 95 plus X. Subtract 95 from both sides, and I will end up with 107 degrees. 107 degrees will be equal to X. So the measure of QT is 107 degrees. Now, instead of having 2 secants, we could have a secant and a tangent. This line is a tangent because it intersects in 1 place. And if you have that, the measure of the angle is equal to 1/2 the measure of the intercepted arc. On the formula chart, it sometimes gets confusing. The C is written here, but it's really the angle measure, And once again, angles 1 and 2 will be supplementary angles. So that is if we have an interior angle or the angle is with the tangent. Exterior intersections, so where either the 2 secants meet, a secant and a tangent, or 2 tangents, all of those are going to be very similar. The angle measure is going to be 1/2 the difference. So you're going to be subtracting the larger arc minus the smaller arc. And you know that at the vertex is when these 2 rays are closest to each other. So you're always going to take the arc that's furthest from the vertex and subtract the arc that's closest to the vertex. The arc that's furthest minus the arc that's closest. And then obviously 1/2 because that's in the formula. The nice thing about 2 tangents is that the major arc and the minor arc are going to add up to 360. So as long as you're given one or the other, you can find the missing arc. And then really all you need is one unit or one known degree, and then you can find everything else. These are on the formula chart. So going to more examples. Example 2, we have a secant and a tangent. Now, I told you that the angle measure, so 4x plus 13, is always 1/2 the measure of the arc that's furthest from the vertex minus the measure of the arc that's closest. Well, we don't know this yet, but we know that all of these together total 360. So you can easily take 360 minus 74 minus 86, and you will get 200 for that one. Let me just double check over here. You will get 200, so this arc is a 200-degree arc. So we will have 200 minus 86. I like to simplify this side. So if I do 200 minus 86 and then take half of that, this side simplifies to 57. So I have 4x plus 13 equals 57. If I subtract 13 from both sides, I will have 44. Divide both sides by 4, and x will equal 11. We're only asked to find x, so we are done. On the problems I did, I always made sure that I plugged 11 back in and got a correct number. Example number 3, we have an interior angle. So if we think back to the beginning, the interior angle, so 16x plus 19, is equal to 1/2 the sum of the two intercepted arcs. So we have 10x plus 9 plus 28x plus 17. I would clear we don't need to clear our fractions yet. Let's solve inside the parentheses. 10x plus 28x is 38x. 9 plus 17 is 26. So here you can do one of two things. You can multiply both sides by 2, or if these are both even, I would find half of both of these. So we have 19x plus 13. I'm going to bring down this side. Let's bring it down here as well. And then I'm going to subtract 16x from both sides, subtract 13 from both sides, divide both sides by 3, and x is going to equal 2. Then make sure you answer the question. The question says, what is the measure of angle NKL? NKL is 16 times x plus 19. And so 32 plus 19 is going to give us 51 degrees. Where things get tricky is if we have expressions that have negatives in them and we have an exterior vertex. So we still have that. 7x minus 24 is going to equal 1/2 the difference of these two. I'm going to use square brackets here because I have 10x plus 28 minus this whole expression, 3x minus 15. This is where kids always get into trouble. They forget that this negative needs distributed to everything in here. So I'm going to leave my 1/2. I have 10x plus 28 minus 3x and then plus 15. So when we combine like terms, we'll have 7x plus, 43? And I'm going to bring this down. I don't like getting fractions when I do this, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, this entire side by 2. So that gives me 14x minus 48 will equal 7x plus 43. I am going to subtract 7x from both sides. I'm going to add 48 to both sides, divide both sides by 7, and x will equal 13. Then, I forgot to write what we're solving for here. Here, I want you to find the measure of arc AE. So arc AE is 10 times x, which is 13, plus 28. So when we do, obviously that's 130 plus 28. We shouldn't need our calculator for that. And we will get 158 degrees. And I am going to try to make sure this is an Edpuzzle, so you can put in if you have any questions, and I will make sure that I get back to you on those questions. Hopefully this made sense. I will see you Wednesday. Goodbye.